My name is Ronnie Edwards and I'm one of the directors to Pamodzi Creatives. Pamodzi actually means together, and we strive to celebrate inspirational stories within the city. We also want to collaborate with creatives to just lean into challenging conversations that aspire and affirm us. And I'm really grateful to have the founder of the Grateful Hearts Club, Sharla, with us. Sharla, thank you for joining us, because we wanted to talk about mental health, and just thought I'd get together with Charla and some other amazing ladies to explore that. Charla, tell us about the Grateful Hearts Club.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me here. I'm really excited to talk to everyone about mental health. It's something that's really important to me, and I guess through the Grateful Hearts Club I've been on a real journey with my own mental health. I actually used kind of gratitude and that the power that comes with reframing situations and trying to find some good in them to support my own mental health and my own resilience, I guess, really. So yeah, that journey's still continuing, but I think the more we talk about mental health and the more honest conversations we have about it, the better.
Yeah. And I'm also grateful to have all you ladies here, and we're just going to hopefully just create a bit of a safe space to just explore some of the issues around mental health. Starting to introduce you to Emma, who happens to be this year's Inspirational Young Woman of Portsmouth Sports Award recipient. Emma, what's been the most amazing thing that's happened to you this year?
The most amazing thing that happened in this year was definitely being selected for the GB team.
Wow. Just say that one more time, because I can't believe I'm in the same room.
Being selected for the GB team, and I'll be competing this year in October.
Wow.
And we are talking the Olympics, darling.
Europeans first.
Well, you know,
Same thing. Yes, absolutely.
as far as I'm concerned, it's there.
Yeah.
And ladies, can you introduce yourselves? Maricar.
Hi, I'm Maricar. I work in marketing and events.
I'm Claire, and I specialise in women's health, predominantly hormonal imbalances, and I do that through my business balancewellness.co.uk, and I also teach practitioners methods of how to get everyone's hormones and health balanced.
Amazing.
I'm Hannah, and I'm a mental health nurse and a local podcaster.
Brilliant.
So great. So just to give a bit of context really to the discussion today, we asked everyone to watch a video. It's actually a video from Danny Cipriani, and he's talking about, it came out just after the death of Caroline Flack, which I'm sure everyone is aware of and was probably impacted by. It was a really difficult time, wasn't it, to learn about kind of Caroline's own mental health journey. And we wanted to sort of touch on some of those themes today. He in the video that we showed you, he talked about the death being about embarrassment and shame. And there's some really important topics, I think. And I wondered if we sort of started with you, Hannah, if you could just tell us a little bit about your own background with mental health and if you've experienced any shame.
So I have worked in mental health services for over 10 years, and obviously went to nursing school and chose to go down that line of profession. I think when you're a student nurse, you don't realise the depth of what you're getting yourself into when you're then qualified to support individuals with something so crucial as mental health. In light of kind of the Caroline Flack death and the celebrity status that these individuals are out there and exposed to within mental health, I think it's very easy to judge a book by its cover. We don't know what goes on behind the scenes or what they've experienced in their life before they even came out as a celebrity. And I think it's really important to kind of give people the benefit of the doubt in what they're trying to deal with in terms of challenges. I know for myself that even as a mental health nurse and with a clinical specialism, I've been on my own journey in the last 3 years, and I was a shell of a person 3 years ago. I now know the person who sits here today is authentically me, but I had to do the hard work. And it's very difficult as a professional, especially in a clinical capacity. You're expected to have your life together. You're expected to know who you are. You're expected to be able to deal with anything that comes your way. and you are just a human being, and you really are just struggling sometimes with exactly the same as anybody else that's sat here.
Do you feel that there's that, when you know what to do, like you tell people, your job is probably to help people and
Yeah.
sort of give them the tools to look after themselves. So is there any kind of element of shame with suffering with mental health yourself, do you think?
I think everybody finds saying or recognising that they're struggling with their mental health quite shameful. I think when you come out of the other side and you've done the hard work and you reap the benefits of doing it, you recognise that it wasn't shameful, but at the time it's very difficult to hold your hands up and say, I've got a problem, I need some help, but I don't know what to do. And some people don't have the mechanisms around them to be able to be confident enough to do that either. I think in terms of shame, it depends who you are as an individual and how you're built and what your resilience is like. For me, cut a long story short, as I've been told, is that I came, growing up in my teens and my early 20s, went through chronic bullying through school and university, and lost myself. I didn't know who I was because I was fixated on the journey that the battering took me, and that was that I probably until my early 30s didn't know who Hannah was. And I had to go on a long, hard journey, and that is very shameful that I spent the first 30 years of my life not knowing who I really was as a person. But I'd done the hard work, and I now get to live an authentic life, being who I want to be, putting out and supporting other people, do the hard work like I did, and that's why I do my job. It's because I've done the hard work, I know what it's like, I reap bountiful experiences and knowledge to be able to support other people to do it. And yes, it was shameful, but coming out the other side allows you to have the beauty that is not 100% sane mental health, but you have the strategies and the toolkits to built in within you to be able to kind of carry on your life.
Wow.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Wow.
You're right, it's about the tools, isn't it? And a lot of the work you do, Claire, is that about helping people find the tools?
Absolutely, because although a lot of people come to see me because of their physical issues, ultimately what we find very, very quickly is that there's such a huge connection with the emotions. So, you know, and I do tend to see mostly women who are in a lot of places people pleasing, they don't like themselves, they're giving themselves a hard time, they're putting so much pressure on themselves, they're in perfectionism. And so they're in a lot of shame because, oh, well, I still needed to go to school, and my son needed me at home, and have I done the wrong thing? And just this constant guilt, shame, overload. And so the journey that we take them on is around, it's the hard work of really falling in love with who we are as people, and then actually being able to make choices from that autonomous place of, actually, today I'm going to choose my son over work, or actually, he's okay with his grandparents, I'm going to go to work. And actually, guilt doesn't need to come into it, shame doesn't need to come into it. But that does take some real self-exploration and asking ourselves some really hard questions, and that's where I'm really excited about how much work is being done now around mental health, because I actually think that a lot of our mental health issues like anxiety and depression, I actually call them our superpowers. But it's like we're the X-Men and we have to go to Charles Xavier's Academy because our superpowers are out of control, and we have to learn how to control them and not be ruled by them, because they're a warning sign that something is out of alignment, something's not right, and it's an invitation to take a big scan around our lives and go, what is it? Am I in a toxic relationship? Am I in work that I don't like? Am I over-giving? Am I not fueling my body right? Is there a lack of self-care? Yeah,
I feel like I'm in church.
I know. That was such a great analogy, though.
It was.
And that is where, you're right, that's where the hard work started. And when I look back on my journey, it was kind of taking a step back and saying, hang on, what isn't working right now, and where's the problem lying? And for me, it was everything in my past that I had never forgiven myself for, and I had never let go. And I was taking that on every next journey in my life, everything that I embarked on, everything that I tried to strive for, and it was like in a sack on my back, and it was carrying that around. And actually something that you helped me do, because I joined one of your Grateful Hearts courses 18 months or maybe 2 years ago now, was letting it go. Accepting it, dealing with how you feel about it, but letting it go. And that's the hardest thing to do, but it is the most rewarding.
Well, it's because we have to change who we are.
You have to.
By letting it go, we are fundamentally changing who we are, and that person is the product of conditioning, and that conditioning was so that we fitted into our families, our social environment, our workplaces, and so by letting it go, there's a risk we're not going to fit in anymore, but ultimately it comes down to that radical self-love, and I choose me over any of this.
Emma, what's your take on mental health in terms of people your age?
So I never knew much about mental health, especially younger, because I think now I look at my sister who's year 7, and the whole idea is, what does my body look like? Does this look nice? And when I was in year 7, it was kind of like, oh, I like this, I'm going to go out and I'm going to wear this. And I think mental health now is all to do with social media, and you see these models out there that wear these lovely things, name brands, so little kids want to be like that, and they're not finding themselves. And that's what is really difficult, to find yourself. I've only probably recently kind of understood myself. So I have dyslexia, and that's when I felt shame in myself. And I was like, oh, I'm not like everyone else. I'm different, and I didn't like that, because I thought I shouldn't have it. It's maybe something wrong with me. I have anxiety as well, and possible ADHD. So for me, I've been in it, and I've just thought, there's times when I'm like, why can I not just be like everyone else? But now I look at it and think, it's such a positive to be my own person. And I've had to do loads of things like meditation, and other people don't have to do that to manage their emotions, but I know that I've got control of my emotions. I know that when I'm doing that, I'm benefiting myself, and not only myself, others around me. So when I coach gymnastics, I can look at them when they're having a bad day. I can be like, do you know what, we'll take it easy, because you're having a difficult day, and everyone has bad days. Some days when I go to coaching, I'm having a rubbish day, and sometimes I don't want to be there, but you've got to think about them as well. And the reason I coach and do all of that is for their mental health, making sure they're a good person, they can look up to someone and become better.
Goodness me.
Wow.
That's incredible. And yes to all of that. And it's just really, I'm in awe of you saying how actually you can see the difference between when you were in year 7 and when your sister was in year 7. And it's really sad to think there's that much of a difference.
Because sometimes she'll say, oh, I don't think I look nice in this, and I just have to say to her, you look lovely. I wish I had this about you, you know. And I've got to make her feel good about herself, because even now I'm not really bothered about what people think of me, and I think that's just growing as a person. Sometimes I will think, oh, does this person think this about me? But a lot of the time I'm quite a confident person, and if someone doesn't like something about me, well, that's up to you. And it's all about, if I'm gonna have like a good relationship with friends, it's about altering things and making that work. But if it's something about the way I dress, or I style this way, or I come across so confident and loud, I'm a very loud person, someone doesn't like that, I'm not going to change that to make them feel better, because that's me and that's who I am.
And how did you get that superpower? How did you get to that place? Because
my mum and my parents.
I know my friends aren't in this place. My friends can't say that sentence.
My parents have a massive thing with it. My mum has always been a big supporter. Especially like when I found out I had dyslexia and anxiety, and I didn't want to go to school for a long time. I'd cry. I've got bad social anxiety as well. I'm not very good with new people, new places. And for me to like understand that about myself, that's when I learned that I'm okay with who I am, and I am a strong person. Because even with those, what we like to say, weaknesses in mental health, it's actually a strength, because I know that actually my brain might go like this sometimes, it doesn't go straight to the thing, but that means that other parts are stronger and I can think differently, and I love that.
It's that acceptance, isn't it?
Yes.
It's really accepting, like you say, Claire, accepting who you are. You can own that person once you've accepted it. I think it's so empowering to hear you say those things.
I think my main thing was possible ADHD for me, and when I found out, I thought there's a really bad stigma with it. You know, you're crazy, you can't sit still, you're always off the walls, you're happy, you're angry. That whole stigma with ADHD. So when I did think about it, I thought, oh, that's quite a bad thing to have. And then I looked at it and I thought, but that doesn't change who I am. That does not, knowing that I have it does not change the 16 years that I've had. And all of a sudden now I know I have it, does that change anything? Not at all, because I'm still the same person I was a year ago. But now I know I have that, I can work on it, like you were saying, like, you know, I've got that superpower and now I just need to learn to control it. I just need to learn to control my emotions, learn to control everything going on in my brain. And once I've got control of that, I'm sorted. I'm a happy person all the time.
I think stigma, just to pick up on something that Emma said, is the stigma part around mental health is a huge issue. And when we think back to the video that Danny Cipriani did about Caroline Flack, is that there is huge stigma around the celebrity world in the fact that this is because they have put themselves in the celebrity environment, that they are in front
Public
of our
life.
eyes, in the public eye, on the television. They're probably doing drink and doing drugs and doing all these things they shouldn't do. So effectively somebody taking their life and suicidal is just because they've done that. That's the stigma that is out there behind with the mental health world in relation to this, is that they had it coming to them, or that they put themselves out there and things like that. Do you see what I mean?
And I think the shock part of it is because of social media, and I'm so pleased that you mentioned that, because I just think, you know, that's growing up with social media now must be horrendous. But with the celebrity culture, and because it's so sought after, you know, who doesn't want to be famous, and
People
that's the
aspire to be those
ideal.
individuals.
So she had the ideal and the social media life, and doesn't everything look perfect? But how often is it that veneer, because this is what I need to present? Because I know when I had my postnatal depression in 2004, and that was horrendous, and I didn't want to tell anybody. I remember my health visitor coming round, and I refused to admit that anything was wrong because of the stigma that I felt and the shame I felt around it. And I just remember actually going into what I call super confidence. Absolutely, I was practically like a Stepford wife. Everything's fine. Everything's fine.
Every day you get that armour on.
And it took a huge amount to break down that armour and actually go, wow, it is absolutely okay not to cope.
I did that for a long time.
I think we all do, don't we?
Yeah.
How about you, Maricar? Talk to us about your kind of mental health.
I think it's interesting listening to Emma, because I think at the young age I was more confident about myself, and I was different, and my mother was very influential in convincing me that to accept the difference. In fact, she said it's good to be different. You don't want to be like other people, and actually it will help you if you are different, and because she equates differentness to special. But there's always the kind of the hankering and the wish to be one of the girls. I went to a girls' school in secondary school. I wanted to be one of the girls, to go out and, you know, and that carried on. But I'm never one of the girls. So so there is a little bit of that sort of still featuring, and of course later on trying to fit in at work, it can be quite hard. I grew up I went through the school in the 90s where to be a strong woman you've got to be, you know, you dress strong and you act strong and all that. And for people who know me, Ronnie was like, I'm not that kind of character. I'm really soft.
You've got a very gentle skin.
Yes.
Facilitating.
I can say yes that now, because it used to irritate me, because people always, no matter what I do, they always say, you are sweet, and in my head I'm like, I don't want to be sweet. I want to be Charla. I want to be Xena, the warrior princess. And then I said, oh, you are sweet, and everything, school reports, everything, Maricar's sweet, and I just like, oh,
And you were told that. Did you feel like that identity was imposed on you? Or did you feel like you wanted to be?
well, I understand that that's what people get, but it's not what I wanted, I think, for a long, long time. I want to be strong, and I want to be powerful. But then that's not also realizing. I realized later on in life how, like discovering yourself and understanding who you are, and suddenly I realized actually, I am strong the way I am.
Yeah.
You know how you can. I no longer wish to have a strong, brassy personality. That's what I wanted before, because I have met or I've seen role models where people can speak softly and just make the whole room listen to them. I'm not there, but it becomes, and now it's sort of, I'm after a different, a more accepting of who I am and how I really come across, and actually loving that part of me, the bit that cries every time, you know. You were talking about the videos. I can't remember anything. I just cried and cried because I'm sensitive, and things that happen to other people touch me, and so and actually accepting that, and also saying it's okay to cry.
It's your superpower.
I
love that,
say
Claire.
that. I think empathy is a superpower, I think.
Yeah.
And interesting, like, empathy is the antidote to shame. Like, shame can't exist where there's empathy. And I think just leading with kindness and definitely being kind to yourself and accepting of who you are is so important, isn't it? It's such a good foundation to build your mental health from.
And what I really love about your story isn't that the issue a lot of the time in mental health is this comparison. Well, I need to be more like this person, and the social media, I need to be more like this celebrity, this person, how this person's doing thing, as opposed to really discovering who we are and what our individual superpower is, because your strength is your gentleness and your empathy, and that's the light that we shine into the world. But it's because of we have this expectation of how we're supposed to be, and now it's this journey to find out what we really are.
And we know, don't we, from the Caroline Flack documentary that's part that we watched, how happy are these people that we're comparing ourselves to in the media, or you know, your sister comparing herself to people online. Like, how happy actually are those people? We don't know, do we? Because everyone has their own battles and struggles with mental health. The
word happy kind of confuses me as well sometimes, because I'm like, what should our aspiration be, and how much of an impact does it have on our mental health? And I don't have the answer to this. I'm thinking out loud, because there's almost like sometimes could we almost do ourselves more damage by striving for happiness? Is there a piece that we need to find?
Because I have a discussion right now with a family member, because I personally all my life been seeking happiness, and that's sometimes seeking happiness. You kind of also think that perfection is happy. You know, happiness is perfection. Perfection, happiness is built into that, and actually, I feel like I've reached a kind of a beautiful age, actually, because I've had enough experience. I've had enough knocks in my life to actually also learn, or can say to a younger person, say, knocks are great because it builds you up. It's actually, you know, I don't want to be that perfect person, the 30-year-old me. I want to be now the 50-year-old me, because it's so much more beautiful, because you start accepting as well. So my mother died 5 years ago, and I know, and some of you who have experienced grief in your life, you will never be the same person again. But what I was afraid of is the the Never Be the Same Again was going to be an imperfect Maricar, and that was a fear, because I love who I was. But then I realized after she died, yes, there is grief, and yes, there are days when that kind of grief where your stomach was empty, you feel you're hollow because you miss this person so much. I'm still teary when I think about my mother, but at the same time also, I feel that I am more human, more alive now with this experience, because we talked about empathy, and I thought I am more perfect because I can feel.
Yes.
And so trying to help this family member is like trying to say to him, we can't avoid, we're so afraid of things, we can't avoid hurt, we can't avoid breaking up with our marriage breaking up, we can't avoid people hating us, because I now know that even if I stand up and doing nothing, some people still hate you for just being. So you can't help it. But all those knocks and all those paths are actually beautiful. And
I have a little analogy that I like to use, which is actually I stole it from my business partner. I feel like I really should speak the truth, Claire. It's not mine. It's not mine. But she talks about, it's such a great analogy. We all talk about this word happy, and I get quite triggered by, well, I just want my child to be happy. I just want, because we have this thing of strive for happiness, strive for happiness, strive for happiness. But we are humans with this vast range of emotions. And if we say we only want to be happy, it's like we're saying, I only want to look at a rainbow and see the colour blue. So actually, the human experience is the ability to have all these different feelings. And one of the things that I just want to touch on is when we're talking about things like mental health, particularly emotions, mental health issues, physical health issues, we always talk about wanting to overcome them. And there are a million therapies and tools and techniques that are, how do I overcome it? How do I get away from my grief? How do I get away from this negative? And we always think they're negative feelings, challenging feelings we like to label as bad feelings or negative. How do I get away from them? Actually, we can't. The journey to being authentic is to learn, how do I be with this feeling? And today might feel really challenging and a bit grim, but this too shall pass. And my experience is, the more we only want to be with the colour blue and be happy, the more we try and push away those challenging feelings, the more that they accrue, and then they overwhelm us. So actually, by being able to drop, surrender, be comfortable with this discomfort, actually then it moves through really quickly. And that is how we ultimately are able to overcome, I don't even like that, but master the tidal wave of the emotions. It's the fear, you're absolutely right, it's the fear of how that feeling is going to make us feel. And the journey is to learn how to be comfortable in the discomfort.
Yeah, I think the other thing is to remember that the word happy, or to be happy, is a feeling, like Claire's saying. You can't go and buy something that's going to give it to you. You can't change something. It's something within you, and like Claire's spoken about, and I've mentioned it, you have to do the hard work to unpick and break down those walls of what is the fear, why do you feel guilt, what is it that you're not happy with, to move forward in a more positive direction to gain happiness as a feeling. But you can't just go out and buy it off a shelf.
No, and it's not going to be at the bottom of that bottle of Prosecco.
No, as much as I'd like it to. But also, the journey that we go on in dealing with the experiences in our lives, even up till now and going forward, is forever evolving.
Yes.
The journey does not end anywhere. You don't get to a point of thinking, oh, I'm complete. It's not like that.
No.
It's forever.
Yeah.
You just have to deal with those challenges along the way, which creates your journey.
It's the human experience.
Yeah. This is life. Welcome.
And I'm just going to say about, it's almost like light bulb moment for me about the word journey, because you've always, I'm an events person, so I got an aim at the end, always like as something you do it, and a goal at the end. But actually, life is not like that. There isn't a goal. Goal is, well, we know what the goal is, but it's the journey that's important. And so, you know, sort of, the now is as important as 5 years from now, and sort of. So that's again sort of the wishing for the future. Tomorrow I'll be happy. Oh, when I buy this dress I'll be happy. Or if I have a house I'll be happy. No, you won't.
You can be happy
now. You can be happy now. Right now. Yes, without all that.
I normally replace happy with joy. Like, what moment of joy can I exercise now? Because I found that happy didn't quite work for me historically. I'd love to talk some more with you, but we have having to kind of come to an end. But I was just wondering, Emma, would you mind sharing with us a bit of advice? So, if there's someone watching this who, and maybe it's someone you know, who's really struggling with who they are, maybe, or their mental health, what advice would you give that person?
I would say every event that happens in your life is it's meant to happen, and when it comes, you've got to learn from it, because everything's a learning lesson. So when that bad thing happens, when you don't pass something, when something doesn't go right, look at it and think, right, I've now got to sit. I can sit and cry and think, right, I'm going to sit and cry and never do anything like that again, or I'm going to cry for a little bit, get up, and then give it another go. You've got those two paths that you can choose. You pick which one, and you'll get to where you want to be. And so it's all about making sure that every opportunity you get, take it. When you're feeling down, understand your emotions. Maybe write it down, do some meditation. You're allowed to cry. Cry if you want, laugh if you want. Everyone deals with things differently. When I'm sad, sometimes I will laugh. I don't know how to deal with it, but it's learning. So I just say, take everything as it comes and learn how to deal with you before you try and be something else.
Wow.
Well, I can see why you were an inspirational woman.
Thank you so much, ladies, for your time. I feel like we need a part 2 of this, but because I would have loved to have heard a little bit more about your work, Claire, because I think it really informs us as women in our mental health. But so, thank you.